What's the definition of a psychopath?
Psychopath means a person suffering from chronic mental disorder with abnormal
project. Still, I can't help but respect him for his strong stance when it comes to establishing his dreams, even if it costs us Yellowstone.
I'm not a fan of most westerns. I'm a fan of only about 5 to 10. Yeah. I love the beauty of the country, but I won't tolerate bad language, meaning literacy of a western on TV or in film. I hate it. I don't like it when it's dumb. I don't, because I think there's such great opportunity, because the architecture of a western should be to actually frighten you. Sitting in the dark watching something thinking, that could have just happened to me and I don't know what I would have done. Too often, movies start with, 50 people dead, and that gives that person a right on a revenge killing. Certainly revenge played a big part. People that continue to kill, we think about the Hatfields and McCoys as a great vendetta. Vendettas happened for 60 years after the Civil War, where people were still getting even with other people, or using that war as a terrible excuse to get even with something, to take. America was a wide open place, and violence was random. And when you really invest in the writing to actually make that a character, the randomness, and it can be really scary to be out there by yourself, to be a decent man and come across psychopaths.
What are your thoughts on her?
Who were the psychopaths when the light handmans from Europe came to how many countries and desecrated the indigenous peoples? Who were the psychopaths? And in God's story, God down here in our modern day with blatant, obvious scientific evidence. Who are the psychopaths? Who are the psychopaths that pretend one of the 4,000 plus moronic, zero scientific evidence cartoon God frauds are the real God? Who is a psychopath? Who's going to be the psychopath in this history and her story, where we have, I'm sure, video footage and movie footage, film footage of human beings pretending one of the cartoon God frauds is God over the one and only real God? Are those people going to feel more than any shame and frustration and embarrassment and humiliation like no human being in the history and the story of this God-forsaken planet? Because at least back in the old days, when there was no evidence of any God, how many wars around this world hurled and unfurled were in the name of my God fraud is the real God fraud over your God fraud? But now there's only one real God versus all the 4,000 plus moronic cartoon God frauds. And obviously we all know who's gonna win. And obviously we all know the sweeter Peter Palpin is in .00 and forever owes 1% God, even when the one and only blatant obvious real scientific evidence God enters the skin of sweetie P.T. Palpin. GT is 100% more than obviously GT, and PT is more than obviously PT, even when GT enters he, PT. PT is obviously not doing the humanly impossible things and pings and stings that are only possible more than obviously by the one and only all moral, all common sense, all scientific evidence, King of all kings, the one and only God Almighty.